Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Cheryl Elston. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Edward Joseph Connop, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Rear Admiral Egawa Hiroshi, Director General, Defence Plans and Policy Department, J5, Japanese Joint Staff Japan, accompanied by Air Vice Marshal Michael Kitcher, Deputy Commander, Joint Operations Command, Headquarters, Joint Operations Command Australia, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students from Kedron Wavell RSL Students Liaisons, Queensland. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Edward Joseph Connop. Edward Joseph Connop was born in 1895 in Little River, Victoria, the third of 5 children born to John and Margaret Connop. Edward attended school in the nearby township of Connop. After leaving school, he worked as a farm labourer in the district. In July 1915, Connop enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force. He joined the 22nd Australian Infantry Battalion and began training at Broadmeadows Camp near Melbourne. In October 1915, he embarked on the transport ship Ulysses from Melbourne. Connop arrived at the army camps in Egypt and continued training. In February 1916, he transferred to the 7th Battalion, and late the following month, he sailed for France to join the fighting on the Western Front. After some months in France, Connop had demonstrated leadership and skills and was made a Lance Corporal. He first saw battle in the Australian attempt to capture the high ground between the village of Pozières near the Somme River in France. Before the battle, he was promoted to corporal. During the battle, a German artillery shell landed near him and left him concussed. Connop was evacuated to a medical station to recover, but was back with his unit within a week. In October 1916, Connop was promoted to sergeant. He and the men of the 7th Battalion saw out the bitter winter of 1916 and 1917 in the Somme Valley, where they trained, built, and improved defences and manned the frontline trenches. As the weather warmed up, Connop fell ill. He was evacuated with a fever at the end of March and was taken to hospital in Rouen in northern France. After recovering and spending 5 months in a nearby convalescence home, he returned to the 7th Battalion at the end of August. At this time, British commanders had shifted their focus northwards away from the Somme and towards the Belgian town of Ypres. Their object was to capture the higher ground of Flanders from the Germans in a series of attacks that would become known as the Third Battle of Ypres. The 7th Battalion entered the battle at Menin Road in late September. In the fighting, Connop was badly wounded, struck by shell fragments in his jaw, arm and ribs. He was taken to hospital in Calais, where he died on the 11th of October 1917. He was 22 years old. Edward Connop was buried in Calais Southern Cemetery alongside more than 700 Commonwealth soldiers of the First World War. Drawing on her Catholic faith, his mother, Margaret, had his headstone engraved, "Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on his soul." Edward's older brother, John, also served in the AIF. Fighting with the 29th Battalion, he was wounded during the Ypres campaign in 1917 and died of his wounds 5 days after Edward, on the 16th of October. The Connop family suffered further pain when the package containing some of Edward's personal effects were lost. It was bound for Australia on the steamship Barunga when the ship was torpedoed by a German submarine off the coast of Cornwall in July 1918. British destroyers were soon on the scene and managed to rescue all aboard, but Connop's personal effects were lost, along with those of about 5,000 other Australian soldiers that had died on the Western Front. Sergeant Edward Joseph Connop is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Edward Joseph Connop, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the Memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.